Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a massive geopolitical and technological shift. We're talking about a race that is quite literally going to define the global economy and, frankly, our entire future. We're unpacking the Great Tech Rivalry, moving way beyond the familiar turf of Silicon Valley and heading straight into the totally uncharted frontiers of Quantum Valley.
So, let me ask you a question. What if the next Silicon Valley isn't actually built on silicon at all? Think about it. For over half a century, the silicon transistor has completely shaped our modern world, right? It gave us PCs, smartphones, the internet. It essentially turned software into unbelievable wealth and digitized our reality at just breathtaking speeds. But, every great era eventually hits a wall. We are standing right at the edge of a brand new technological civilization, one that isn't just powered by digital apps anymore, but is actually driven by the fundamental laws of physics and nature itself.
Section 1. Beyond Silicon Valley. The contrast here is absolutely fascinating. Silicon Valley was built on a strictly binary foundation. Bits. Everything is just a 0 or a 1, kind of like a million tiny light switches flipping on and off. It's all about digitizing information, where software is king, and success is defined by rapid iteration and massive scale. But, nature doesn't really operate in zeros and ones, does it? And that brings us to Quantum Valley. This new paradigm is physics first. Instead of bits, we're dealing with qubits, which, thanks to the wild world of quantum mechanics, can actually exist in multiple states all at once. So while Silicon Valley digitized information, Quantum Valley is going to digitize reality itself. We're talking about simulating complex chemistry, discovering crazy new advanced materials, and solving problems that classical computers literally cannot even touch. And the culture? Well, it's a whole different beast. It requires long, deep science experiments and incredibly patient engineering.
Section 2. The AI peer competitor.
A really crucial point is captured perfectly right here by the National Security Commission on AI. They pointed out that China possesses the might, the talent, and the ambition to surpass the United States as the world's leader in AI within the next decade, if current trends hold. Former Google CEO Eric Schmidt has actually echoed this exact sentiment. He views China not just as a player in the game, but as a full-spectrum peer competitor in artificial intelligence. And guys, this isn't some distant future possibility. It is a present reality we're looking at right now.
To really wrap your head around how China built up this momentum, just look at this staggering number. $42 trillion. Yep, trillion with a T. That was the value of mobile payments in China in just 2020 alone. Just to put that in perspective for a second, while a majority of Americans are still relying heavily on swiping credit cards, 90% of urban Chinese primarily use mobile platforms. They are outspending Americans on mobile by an absolute landslide. Now you might be wondering, why does this matter for tech? Well, it's because this sheer, massive volume of user behavior generates an absolute treasure trove of granular data. And as we know, data is the raw fuel that powers artificial intelligence.
Now, mapping the global flow of top-tier AI talent tells a really fascinating story. If you trace the lines here from left to right, you'll see the U.S. currently holds a very distinct advantage in retaining AI superstars for postgraduate work. It's drawing brilliant minds from all over the world, and that definitely includes China. However, China is rapidly expanding its own domestic STEM pipeline. They are already graduating 4 times as many bachelor students with STEM degrees as the U.S., and get this, they're actually on track to double the number of STEM PhDs by 2025. So what we're watching is a neck-and-neck race between America's global talent magnet and China's massive, growing domestic pipeline.
Section 3. The 5G infrastructure race.
Okay, when we benchmark the Chinese and U.S. 5G futures side by side, this is using data from the Belfer Center, the contrast is honestly pretty stark. Look at the red area representing China's rollout. It totally dominates across almost every single metric. We're talking users, base stations, speed, and that absolutely critical mid-band spectrum. It's just a brilliant, albeit stark visual of exactly how far ahead China's physical infrastructure rollout is at this very moment.
Let's actually break down the hard numbers here. By the end of 2020, China had deployed 700,000 5G base stations. The US, just 50,000. China had 150 million users living in a 5G environment versus just 6 million in the US, and their average speeds were vastly higher. To put that into perspective, at these speeds, a smart factory in Shenzhen might literally have better connectivity than a brand new smartphone in New York. Now, while the US definitely still holds an edge in 5G R&D, standards, and chip design, the physical network deployment over in China is years ahead. And that means Chinese innovators are already out there testing applications like smart factories, driverless robo-taxis, and even remote surgery on live nationwide 5G networks. Crazy, right?
Section 4.
quest for quantum supremacy.
You can really feel the human drive behind all of this shift. Pan Zhengwei, who is often called China's father of quantum, summarized his country's shifting role perfectly. He said, "We were only the follower and the learner at the birth of modern information science. Now we have a chance to be a leader." I mean, that represents a massive, fundamental shift in self-perception and national strategy, and it's being fueled by just an immense amount of resources and dedication. And the data backs up that ambition perfectly. If you look back in 2014, the US and China were effectively tied in quantum patents. But following China's launch of a massive quantum mega project in 2016, you can see their numbers absolutely skyrocket. By 2018, China surged right past the United States, filing more than twice as many patents. Right now, they're actually estimated to be spending 4 times more than the US on quantum information science. All this massive investment has triggered a breathtaking, literally month-by-month arms race. Check out this timeline. In 2019, Google's Sycamore processor achieved quantum supremacy for the US, meaning it solved the problem that's basically impossible for classical computers. But just a year later, in 2020, China's photonic computer Zhuzhong achieved the exact same feat. Then, mere months later, in 2021, a Chinese team debuted Zhuchengzi, a superconducting quantum computer that usurped Sycamore by solving an exponentially more challenging problem. The lead is changing hands with dizzying speed. However, it's really essential to look at how we actually measure success here. While China has achieved some truly astonishing photonic milestones and leads heavily in things like quantum communications and satellite networks, the United States maintains a vital edge in something called quantum volume. This metric, which was actually pioneered by IBM, doesn't just blindly count the number of qubits, it evaluates their quantity, their connectivity, and their overall quality. When you factor in hardware diversity and quantum volume, American companies like IBM and Honeywell are ensuring that the US remains fiercely competitive when it comes to the functional power of these machines.
Section 5. Building the quantum workforce.
So, we've explored the technologies and the geopolitics of it all, but what does this actually mean for you? Well, if you want to participate in this revolution, these are the foundational skills you're going to need. We are seeing entirely new roles emerge right now: quantum software engineers, quantum algorithm designers, quantum product leaders. Getting there requires really strong fundamentals in things like linear algebra, probability, programming, and of course, basic quantum mechanics. But honestly, most importantly, it requires cross-boundary multidisciplinary thinking. The winners of Quantum Valley aren't just going to be physicists. They'll be the people who can merge computing with chemistry, materials science, and real-world problem solving.
And here's a really vital distinction to keep in mind. Unlike Silicon Valley, which, as we all know, is notoriously concentrated in one small corner of California, the new Quantum Valley is completely decentralized. It's a global network of deep tech ecosystems. It's spanning North America, emerging across the UK, Germany, and Europe, and rapidly accelerating in China, India, and all across Asia. It is literally everywhere. Which leaves us with one final provocative question to think about. Are you going to simply watch this transformation unfold, or will you prepare yourself to actually be a part of building it? We are transitioning from an era of computing information to an era of computing nature itself. The Great Tech Rivalry is well underway, and the next chapter of human innovation is being written right now. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll see you in the next one.